Yeah, the supportive factors are um, you have to support with morality, you have to support with listening, you have to support with discussion, you have to support with tranquility, you have to support with the wisdom, right? Moral supportive factor is the way we live, right? We live in a way that we restrain our physical and verbal activities, right? Such as not harming other people, not lying, not slandering, and things like that. And which we do in our daily life. So that's a supportive factor. And listening supportive factor is what you are doing now, right? I will be giving a talk on what we do, and then you listen to it, and that will remove some of the doubts you may have, and you will gain more knowledge, additional knowledge. Some of the knowledge that you have may be confirmed, and there may have certain points of view that you have when you come here, and those can be straightened. And like that, there are few advantages of listening to a talk. Similar advantages will be there even in the discussion. So what happens is both the parties will be exchanging their viewpoints, so that it will be more energizing than listening to a talk. And the tranquility and wisdom supportive factors are what we just did at the best of our ability, right? So this time, the first few minutes, I will be taking for the listening supportive factor. For the listening supportive factor, what we usually do is we take a discourse or a talk that is given by the Buddha and try to understand what he has said. So for that purpose, we have taken a discourse which is called Four Foundations of Mindfulness, and I call it the Bible of Mindfulness, and it gives from A to Z of mindfulness and what happens, how it develops, right? And we have done series of talks on that, and our previous talks are available in YouTube, and Chatu may be able to tell where it is. And if I talk a little bit about what we have done in the past, or summary of what we have done in the past, the Blessed One is explaining that there are four bases, four foundations, four things in our physical and mental processes we can be mindful of. The first one he is giving is our physicality, the physical process. To be mindful or for any living being, there are two processes. One is the physical process, and the other is the mental process. And when these two are combined together, that becomes an animal, not necessarily a human being, even any animal will be having a physical process and mental process. But the issue we have is mental process is always in the past or in the future or in other places, whereas the physical process is sitting here, right? So it's an inefficient way of living. So what mindfulness does is try to bring these two together, right? So when it is coming closer, it is thin slicing both the physical process and the mental process, right? And for that, it first take the physical process, and there are 14 ways you can do it. Of that, the most important thing is the observation of the body through respiration, right? So when you observe the respiration, respiration is a very subtle thing, right? For you to bring your concentration or bring your attention, bring your awareness to the natural breath that is taking place, you need a very sharp and clear mind, especially with this notice, right? So when you try to bring your attention to the respiration that is happening naturally, it not only brings your attention to the respiration, but also it sharpens your mind. It teaches the mind how to restrain from going for unwanted disturbances, unwanted troubles, right? So they may have few seconds or few fractions of seconds where you were able to observe the breath when the sound was there, right? So that way, little by little, we learn to bring the mind to the body, to keep the mind more with the body. When we keep the mind more with the body, what happens is now we see our body as hands, head, neck, leg, trunk, and all sorts of things, right? When the attention comes into the body, inside, you may observe certain other functions that are taking place or certain other sensations that are taking place. For example, when you sit here, although you observe your breath, your attention may go to stiff leg or stiff neck or stiff back, or some sensation might arise. So which means the body is having a lot of other signals. So you will be able to perceive those signals, right? So likewise, like that, we using the attention, using the awareness, we dig into the body, right? So that digging into the body, that observations of sensation will be a crucial point to open the gate of the mind. When we have a sensation, what usually happens is we have either a liking or a disliking towards that sensation. That liking and disliking towards the sensation is not a physical process. It is a mental process. So that is the beginning, that is the key, that is the gateway to the mind, right? So that we call mindfulness of feelings, right? So we start with the mindfulness of the body, and when you go deeper into the body, you will observe sensations, and when sensations are either preferred or hated, then you bring in a mental component. That bringing in mental component is the gateway or opening of the mind, right? Which we call mindfulness of the feelings. These two we have discussed in detail in about how many talks, Chatu? Maybe about 6, 7, 8? Yeah, maybe 10, 12 talks we have done on that. So when you have free time, just listen to them. And there are very important ones, and there are few talks we have done for the sake of completion. So everything is not necessary, but especially the talks on respiration and talks on feeling are really important, right, to go through this. Today we are going to enter into the next thing. We have gone to the gate of the mind. Now we have the key, we have opened the mind, right? So we are going to see how we can be mindful of the mind. Do you have that chapter? Just the first sentence I want to. And have the truth as a picture about contemplating mind is mind. Yes, right. So he's going to tell how you, the word the translator using is contemplate. And when it comes to the mind awareness or mindfulness of the mind, you don't contemplate. It's the simple awareness, what is happening in the mind, right? So before going into detail of the facets of the mind or the nature of the mind, that is what the discourse is telling after the first sentence, we will have to understand what mind is, right? So that's the most important thing, right? And a lot of people are talking about talking a lot of things about the mind, and some people the mind is there, some people say mind is here, some people they say mind is in the body, some people say mind is in the heart, some say mind is in the brain, and all sorts of theories are there. I remember once I attended a mindfulness summit. A professor came and said, we have found the mind. And he said, this part of the brain, that part of the brain, this is how it works and all that. And after he stopped question another time, 95% of the audience was raising their hand because they knew that mind is something which has got nothing to do with physicality. Brain is just a piece of flesh, right, which has certain circuits, right, that transport information. information, right? But it is not the mind, right? So in Blessed One's discourses, you may have heard of the book called Dhammapada, where he has given short verses. So in one of the short verses, the Blessed One is saying this: faring far, wandering alone, bodiless, lying in a cave is the mind. This is his explanation of the mind, right? And those who subdue it are freed from bond of Mara. Bond of Mara means evil one, right? And faring far means it travels where? Whatever you can imagine of, right? If you see the things that are happening today, people are even talking about black holes and dark energies, dark matter, right? They have not been there, but they have developed theories, they have developed equations, they have developed labs, spending billions of dollars to see these things. They are thinsulizing matter in the way they do, not in the way we do, right? And that is simply the extent to which the mind is going, right? And some people, lot of people are saying this is just one galaxy and there are billions of galaxies. So that far the mind is going, right? So that is what he says, faring far, wandering alone. It does not require anybody, right? You have experience when you come and sit here, try to observe, or when you walk, how many times you can keep your mind with the moving leg, observe information of the walking. It keeps thinking on its own. So it's working alone. Doesn't require any partner, doesn't require any companion, doesn't require any support, right? And bodiless, very clearly mentioned, it doesn't have a body. There is no body. It is, then what? It's just an energy. So just an energy that we have to activate our physical process. It is like this computer, right? If this is taken out after a few minutes, if electricity is taken out, battery will die. After that, it won't work. Like that, we have some sort of an energy, and when that energy is not in our body, we call it a dead body. Doesn't work, right? So that energy, what we have to keep us alive, is bodiless, and we can't touch it. It is not tangible, right? Lying in a cave. What is the cave? This is the cave. From the top of the head to the tip of the toes, it is just hollow. We think it's all solid concrete and all that. But there are so much of rooms inside. And it is lying in this body, and the function doing whatever it wants. Whatever we are used to, whatever we are obsessed with, it just keeps doing. So is the mind. That is what he says. Those who subdue it are freed from the bond of Mara, which means it is having habits, it is having obsessions, it is having corruptions. Right? It does now. It says it is trying to help us. It says it is trying to keep us happy. But is there anyone who has died saying, "Okay, I was 100% happy. I was 100% satisfied"? Not a single soul. Except those who have really done this. Very hard to say that I was happy. To take a simple example, we try to give as much forms as possible to our eye. Our eye will never be happy. Maybe thousands of beautiful girls, we may require one more. And that is why those days kings, they had not just one or two wives, they had a village of women. Right, that's the way kings lived. Because, and if they hear that there is one beautiful woman somewhere, they will bring that woman and put that in the cage. Because they want everything. It's not only just the satisfying of eyes, satisfying of all the faculties, right? So these faculties that we have in our body are bottomless, and you can't fill that basket, right? So therefore, although the mind is saying that it is trying to keep us happy, what actually happens is it is just giving us as much friction as possible, right? As much suffering as possible. So that's all what is happening. So there is a nice story uh, to understand how far this um, or this explanation of the Blessed One. He has mentioned this short verse, little verse, based upon a small story. There has been an uncle and a nephew living as monks, right? And nephew was looking after uncle because he was elderly, and he was a senior monk, and he's a very good practitioner, and he has attained his final stage of enlightenment. So he was a very achieved monk with a lot of wisdom. And this nephew, when he was looking after him, because he is doing such a good job, he has been given a very expensive robes, right? And one of the robe he has offered to his uncle, and uncle has said, "I have plenty. I don't want any more." He has refused the offering. Then, when he refused the offering, Nevi was very upset, and he decided to disrobe. Right? So after deciding to disrobe, he's planning what he would do. So his plan is he will sell this robe, which is expensive, and then buy a she goat. And with a she goat, it will be able to have a good herd. And after that, he will have a bit of money. With that, he will have a wife, and then you know the rest of the story, right? He just keeps thinking, and looking after the senior monk as well at the same time. So one day when he was fanning, he has been thinking, okay, I will come with my wife to see my uncle after we have a son or daughter, and we will be coming by the car in the cart. So when I'm in the cart, maybe my wife will be holding the child. So I may want to have the child on one hand and then drive the car. And then wife says, no, no, you can't have the child and drive the car. I will give the child. And then he grabs the child, and child falls down. And then wheel goes on him, and then he dies and all that. And then he hits the wife and hits the uncle on his head. Right, while fanning, he was doing it. So the story end up hitting uncle on his head. Then uncle says, be careful, I'm not your wife. So he has attained monk. He is able to see what is going on in the little fellow's mind. And he said, no, I'm not your wife. So he felt very ashamed. And then Blessed One heard the story. And then only he said this verse, faring far, wandering alone, bodiless, lying in a cave, based on that story, because it has gone to such an extent. Gone to the extent, it's a very simple story, but gone very far from fanning, right? So this is the this is how it has happened to two monks, but in lay life, it's much more, and you know how minds are working, right? But when it comes to spiritual world, what we do is we tame that mind. When we tame the mind, what we have got to simply do is we will have to understand this horrible mind, right? So, as you know, uh, they say human beings are an evolution of apes, right? Blessed One says Not only just our appearance, even our mind is monkey mind. Not just monkey mind. He says it's a mad monkey mind, because we will be thinking one thing now, but in the next fraction of a second, it will be thinking completely different thing. Right? It's like a mad monkey. You know how monkeys they can't just be in one place. They just jump from one branch to the other, and they jump into the most difficult branch, but still they don't fall down. That's normal monkeys. Just imagine a mad monkey. And our mind is like mad monkey. So it's not only the physical process from monkeys, the mental process is from monkeys. So that is what the Blessed One says. So to tame that, what we do is we bring the mind into the body. So when you bring the mind into the body, we take most of the natural body processes and then try to do those bodily activities with awareness, trying to keep the attention to those activities. That is why we do walking. That is why we try to be mindful while sitting, having our awareness to the respiration. And not only that, you can do that even when you are standing. You can do that even when you are listening. And that is what I did when I was sitting. And it was very hard to bring my attention to the body. And I brought my attention to the ears and try to listen to the whatever that was happening outside, that noise. And that naturally brought my attention not to the noise, but through trying to hear the noise, it brought my attention to the body. Right? So like that, we can use anything that is happening around us to bring the attention to the body. So it's maybe when you are lying down, when you are sleeping, you can do the same thing. When you just lie down, you see the contact points of the body, and then you just keep observing that. Through that, you may be able to bring your attention to other things that is happening in the body, right? And then in that manner, you gradually will be able to keep your attention most of the time during the day with the body. And then your mind will be little by little slowly taming, and it will stay with its natural home, which is the physical process. And when you reach the physical process, as you know, in physics, there are few basic elements. Our body is made of those basic elements. As you know, they are earth element, air element, heat element, and the water element. So when you get closer and closer and closer to the body, the characteristics of those elements will start manifesting. Right? So those characteristics that are coming up, maybe the hardness or the softness or the heat or the cold or the cohesiveness or the flowing effect, whatever characteristics that comes up will be the evidence to say that your mind is getting more and more sharper and you are getting more and more closer to the body, right? And with this thin slicing of physicality breaks the perception of sense faculties and the organs, right? So when you see you're sitting and observing or you're walking and observing, you don't feel any leg or you don't feel any movement. Instead you feel heat. Instead you feel hardness in the body, which means you don't identify your body as leg or your body as trunk or the hands or the nose or the head. That perceptions disappear. Instead different things come up, right? So you don't have ears, you don't have nose now. They are there, but you have gone inside. You have gone into them, how they are made of, and you start seeing a different perception than the perceptions that you had earlier. Right? So when that happens, the mental process is demanding for the functions of the sense faculties to continue. Right? What does that mean is, although you have gone into the body, your sense faculties are still there. When your sense faculties are still there, um, eye faculty may be always wanting to see things. Ear faculty may be always looking for very smoothing sounds, songs, and people you like to talk to you and things like that. Those demands from the faculties will be there, and those demands from the faculties will manifest as feelings, right? When your attention goes into the body, and since our faculties are not dead, they are working, they will keep demanding things from your body, and you will start getting, if you like certain things, you will be having pleasant sensation. If you don't like things, you will be having unpleasant sensation. So that is what I explained at the very beginning as well. When you have sensations, you may like certain things and you may dislike. So the pleasant and unpleasant sensation will be coming up. So when these are coming up, when you learn the art of not reacting to the feelings, you dig deeper into the mind or open the gate of the mind, which I have already discussed. So in mindfulness, what you do is, as you did in walking and sitting, even if there are demands, even if there are pleasant feelings or unpleasant feelings, what you simply do is, in mindfulness, you just be aware that there is a pleasant feeling. You will be just aware that there is an unpleasant feeling. You don't try to remove the unpleasant feeling. You don't try to eradicate the unpleasant feeling. You don't try to grab the pleasant feeling or hold the pleasant feeling. You simply be aware. By being aware, you eliminate the reaction, right? Just being aware means you don't hate what is there. You start loving. Say when you sit the way you are sitting, maybe your knees are painful, maybe your back is painful. If you accept that, and if you don't change the posture, you change the posture means you hate that slightly, or very deeper layer of the mind. You are hating that painful sensation or painful feeling, right? But instead, without changing posture, you bring your attention there, you take your attention there, you just try to keep observing continuously. It may be horrible feeling, excruciating, but you try to take your mind there and try to keep observing. When you observe it, what happens is that reaction to hate it, reaction to remove it, the opportunity to remove it will go away. And it will increase your threshold. It will increase your capacity to be patient, right? So that non-reactional mentality is bringing, is opening the mind, right? So because of the demands of the faculties, these sensations are coming up. You don't listen to them, you don't react to them, you just keep observe them as well. When you keep observing them, what happens is you go deeper into the mind. Where are this pleasant and unpleasant mentality coming? Right, the body is anyway having sensations, right? The sensations that you have in your body are there even in this chair, are there even in the computer, are there even in the trees and whatever is outside. It's just earth element, water element, air element, and the heat element, right? But when it is happening to animals, they have a reaction simply because we have a mind. So what we do is, when we don't react to it, we just become like tree, we just become like computer, we just become like chair, and then falls deeper into the mind, right? And that is what we just heard faring far and bodiless and all those things. That is the nature of the mind, right? So when we understand that this is the nature of the mind, but how can we really see this? How can we really understand it? It's very difficult, right? The mind is having a certain hierarchy, and you will have to go through that hierarchy, then only you will be able to really get to the bottom layer, real down layer of the mind, right? Let me give you an example. You know that we have electricity in the building only when you turn on the lights, or if you have an AC, we don't have AC here, only when you turn on the AC, or if you turn on any one of these electrical gadgets we have here, right? Without which we don't know that there is electricity. Even if you turn on them, we can't see electricity. We see whatever that is functioning on it. So where is electricity? And someone will take you to the main switchboard and say, this is where electricity is. And then when you open that, even that has some gadgets only, there is no electricity that you can see. And it is coming from that transformer, you go there. Right? Even there you see some big cage and lot of things inside, and it says 33 watt, I don't know. And then where that, all gadgets, it's so dangerous, don't go, and all that will be there. But still you don't see electricity. And then it will say, oh no, no, it is coming from this hydropower plant or this solar farm or whatever. Right? And you go there, even there you don't see. If it is a hydro power plant, you go there, you don't see electricity, and it is in water. Okay, so you go to the river. In river, you don't see it, and you go down the river where the river starts. There is no one place it starts. It is a collection of a lot of small streets. We don't know where this is started. Right? So like that, to go to the bottom layer of the mind, we will have to start from where we are. We exactly know where we are. We have seen that, which is our other side of Charles Darwin, or the Blessed One says, mad monkey mind. We have that, we know, right? So from mad monkey mind, when we practice, the first stage is the feelings that we just explained. From the sensations, you will have pleasant to unpleasant feeling. That is the first layer. That is the first understanding that we have some mental input to the physical sensation, right? To the physical sensation, if you can just keep quiet, that level of the mind is not functional. When it is not functional, that is what we do. When it is not functional, there are few other components in the mind. They are called perceptions and intentions. Right? We have a lot of perceptions. We have the perceptions of what we have been hearing, what we have been seeing, what we have been tasting, what we have been touching, what we have been thinking. Our eyes are closed, and suppose this building is soundproof. We don't hear anything, but those shadows will keep bothering you. Will keep bothering you. It's not a secret that all of us have plenty of thoughts. Those are not tangible things, but the perceptions that are there. So that is a section of the mind. And also, maybe sometimes when you get a thought, you may start planning few things. Okay, tomorrow I will do this, do that, do that. This is how it will go, and this is where I will go, and all that. Some plans will happen. I remember I had done plenty of them. I did 10-day retreat once, and I came home buying a good mattress to my daughter. That is what I was thinking the whole 10 days. And she's young, and her mattress is so bad, and the bed is not good, and it is very important to have a better spinal cord for women and all sorts of things. When she bears children, it will be otherwise very bad and all that. I came home buying a mattress, right? So to that extent it goes. So those are having such intentions is also part of the mind. We don't see them, but when we have tapped the feelings, when we don't react to feelings, you start seeing those layers. I mean, You may say, okay, it was not necessary for me to tap the feeling. When I started walking, thoughts were coming, right? But you get confused with those thoughts, and you will not be able to really have a clear understanding of what these thoughts are, right? But when you keep on practicing, and if you have mastered your feelings, then you have an opportunity. You have a clear mind, you have a sharpened mind to see that these are perceptions that emerge. These are intentions that emerge. And these are the intentions that emerges and then keeps on conceptualizing continuously and going into internal chatter continuously, right? So you can see those things clearly only when you have mastered the body, and then when you have mastered the feeling. They don't take long time. They don't take months. It may happen in few minutes. It may happen in few hours. And for some people, it may take long, right? So how fast it will happen can be gauged only when you discuss your practice, right? And the next layer is once you have seen these perceptions and intentions in daily life, you will be able to see how crooked the mind is, because now you have an ability to stay back instead of reaction, stay back and take an opportunity, take a space to see what is happening. Right? To say, for example, you are driving the car. When you drive the car, you naturally turns your head onto the other side. You never wanted, but it naturally goes. That is because we have a habit just to see who is on the other driving seat, right? And that's a habit. And those things you will be able to start observing. This is not something that I intended to do, but it is naturally happening. So, in other words, what I want to tell is you start observing um, um, our how our internal faculties work with the external world. And when it goes to the external world, how what sort of feedback comes and how they develop. Say, for example, there was a beautiful girl in the other car who was driving the car, and then you had some thoughts about it. Like you start seeing those things. Right? If you are not mindful, what happens is you just fall into the pool of thoughts, and you keep driving thinking about that girl, right? We don't know, but since you are mindful, since your mind is sharp, now you know this is happening, and it's natural. It's a nature of the human being. It's not a mistake. But if you're not mindful, you just entangled in it. You don't know what is happening. You just go and do something else. And when the next car passes, you do the same thing. And the next car passes, you do the same thing. Just keep on doing that. So when you master these things, you continuously, slowly getting into deeper layers of how the mind works. And then observe consciousness in relation to sense faculties. That is what I explained. There is someone in the other car, you are in your car, and then you see that, and then observe the feedback, observe the information passing from the other car to you. Right? It's not other car is passing. You generate information within yourself, and then observe consciousness before being connected with the sense faculty. So that's a very important thing. After you have seen that there are ways that this is how my internal faculties, internal sense faculties are looking for external sense objects, which is either a form or sound or taste or whatever. Once you have seen this process once or twice or to a certain extent, then you will be able to see naturally your mind goes to the other side. And when it moves, you start observing that movement. When you start observing the movement, the mental connection, mental feedback, and the mental, what do you call, process will not continue, right? Earlier, you saw it went there and the mental process started and mental process continued. So once you have seen that this is happening, you are more mindful now. And next time when you look at the other car, you do it mindfully. You know that you are doing. Since you are mindful, the mental process, natural mental process will not continue. So when that happens, it becomes a huge, huge shock to the mind. Mind has been doing the things that it wants all the time. So gradually, what we did was the monkey mind that was playing health outside, we have brought to our body, and through that, we have slowly going into the consciousness layer or that energy layer of the mind. Right? So you can really experience that when you sit and let things happen, you just observe your body. That energy will be really isolated within your body, since you are not trying to hook onto pains or any feeling, or you are not getting hooked onto any thoughts, any perceptions. You just observe and let them go. So it will not have any ground to stand. And when it does not have any ground to stand, you may, the body will feel huge pressure inside. Huge pressure inside because it has some excess energy now. It has been doing all sorts of unwanted things using this body. And that excess energy will play hell within your body. Those are those will be real experience that you will have, and hope you will be able to touch those layers, and we will be able to talk more about it. So I have just given an understanding here how we go deeper into where the electricity starts from, right? Like we go from the main switchboard to the river to the streams. We go from the body to the feelings and the perceptions and intentions and how internal and external sense objects and sense faculties work, and then how you disconnect the connection between the two, and then what happens to the consciousness. I have explained. Hope you understand it. It's something I know a bit difficult to sometimes fathom, but I have tried my level best to explain. And the question is now, why should we tame the monkey mind? Right? It's again a story in Dhammapada. The Blessed One says in Dhammapada, verse 42, whatever harm a foe may do to a foe or hater to a hater, on ill-directed mind, an ill-directed mind can do one for greater harm. Right? An enemy is doing, America will do the worst possible thing to Iran and China. Enemy to enemy. But an ill-directed mind will do a greater harm to oneself. That's a simple meaning, and it is also based on a story. There has been maybe there was a very close benefactor of the Blessed One. His name was Anathapindika. He had a servant or herdsman who looks after Anathapindika's cows. This herdsman, although he is working for Anathapindika, he was also a bit of a rich man, and therefore he had the opportunity to go to his palace, Anathapindika's palace, and listen to the discourses of the Blessed One. So he himself has tried to get the Blessed One to his house and then offer some look after him for some time. The Blessed One has kept refusing and saying, okay, time hasn't come. When time comes, I will come. And then one day he has accepted his invitation, and he has gone, and then this herdsman, his name is Nanda, he has looked after the Blessed One with all his requirements for 7 days. And on the last day, from his last talk, this herdsman has achieved the first stage of enlightenment, which we call stream winning stage. And after that, when everything was over, the Blessed One has returned to where he should go. And when Blessed One was going, he has taken the Blessed One I'm sorry, ball and gone behind the Blessed One. When after some time, after he has gone to maybe to wherever he wanted to go, he has given the ball and come back. On the way, there has been an enemy of Nanda, the herdsman, and this fellow has shot dead this poor fellow Nanda. And then people started, relatives have started blaming the Blessed One, saying because of him only Nanda died. Right? Then Blessed One said this verse: an enemy, a greater harm will be done by an ill-directed mind. And that greater harm is compared to something that an enemy would do to an enemy, right? And what the greater harm done here is, on one hand, the relatives are blaming the enlightened one and unnecessarily gathering unwanted negative energies, because their mind is ill-directed. Their mind is finding fault with outside. Is there anyone who can stop the death? This is why the Blessed One was waiting, because he had not matured enough to achieve the first stage of first stage of enlightenment. So he was waiting until he has come to certain fruition to give these talks and then enlighten. And he has done that. And this enemy killed him because enemy had an ill-directed mind. He killed an enlightened one also, one who has achieved the first stage of enlightenment. So he has done a greater harm in that regard. And relatives are doing greater harm because he thinks a death is done by someone. There will have plenty of causes why the death will happen. So you can't blame on Blessed One or anybody else for that matter. It is the life that he has drawn. Right? So therefore, ill-directed mind will always try to find fault with outside. Trying to find fault with outside is in itself a weak mind, a poor mind. But we will have to try to see within us how we can, what negativities we have, what positivities we have. Then only mind will not be ill-directed. Then only mind will be well-directed. And that has also been mentioned by the Blessed One. And he says in Dhammapada again in the next verse, he says, what neither mother, nor father, nor any other relative can do, a well-directed mind does, and thereby elevates one. Right? So it also has a story, and I'm not going to tell that story. It's a long story. So these are the reasons why we should try to dig deep into our mind. And in our next session, in the paragraph, the Blessed One is giving different shapes, different facets, different shadows of our mind. It's explaining the nature of our mind. Right? So we will see what he says and what we have got to do when those things are coming up in the next few sessions. So I think I was able to give some idea of the mental process and the mind in this talk, and hope you will be able to develop with that talk and with the practice, a very well directed mind. Thank you so much. Right. Now, that is the listening part, which is the most difficult part to do. Keep listening to somebody, it's very difficult for me to do, but I'm a bad reader as well. So the only thing I do is listen, how difficult it is. So before going on to Chatu, Chatu is opening the book. I would like to ask anybody else is having any question. It's not necessary to be the talk or the practice. Any other question? Yes, directly at you.
I think that actually I have two questions. One from walking and one from the practice side of things.
Yeah.
Start with the walking one. I know in the past I've been practicing just being distractions, someone examples of practicing, and someone got on my mobile phone and was saying right next to where I was practicing, having a phone conversation for a long time, and so maybe I should just go somewhere else so I can keep practicing. I didn't do that in my and my understanding is that you probably the right thing to do in that situation to try and see past the distraction or just focus on the distraction as opposed to physically remove myself from the situation. The things that happen so the complex mind understanding that's right. But today when I was walking down this campsite, and for some reason the first circles up in the middle of my path for me. And every time I came back to this game, now when we practice, we try to come back to principles of not pulling things. And this is right in my path, and I'm wondering, should I just move it because the whole time I'm walking, I'm planning where this end's going to be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, they're really practical ones. Sound is not clear. I'm very sorry. Okay, I'll take the next question. We'll take the mic to the next question. Now, his question was basically, I'll repeat it for you. There are two cases. First one is while walking, someone has been talking on the phone for a long time when he was walking. So what he had done was he has not changed the place. He has kept on walking, ignoring or concentrating on the sound, whether it is the right thing to do. Was the first one. And the second one, when he was walking, there has been an ant disturbing the whole time. It's coming right into the direction where he was walking. So he had to more concentrate on whether the ant is there rather than uh, keeping his attention onto the movement of the legs. So the other alternative he had was to remove the ant and then concentrate on the walking. Right. So this question is whether we are able, whether what he did was right. In the first case, definitely that's the right thing to do. In mindfulness, what we do is we don't try to change the world, we change ourselves. Right. So which you have done, and also you experience the right thing as well. Since we remove the hatred towards the things happening outside, we find peace within us. We will be able to naturally bring the attention to our body. So that's a coincidence. That's the exact thing I did with the sound as well. I brought the attention to the sound, and then sound was there, but it was not bothering me. I was in my body. Right. So what happens is, rather than the disturbances are disturbing us, we are disturbing the disturbances. right? So we should not therefore change postures or move places or remove things. Just let them be there and try to be um, non-reactive as much as possible. But in the case of ant, if it is one ant in the whole world, you can remove it and walk. But especially when you walk outside, each and every step, there are thousands of ants. Right? So therefore, it is not possible. But at least you are able to maintain your concentration, not to step on it. Right? So if you have not been mindful, you just keep walking. Who bothers what? Right? So that mindfulness is bringing attention to ourselves, to what we do, and it is not only protecting us; it is protecting the rest of the world as well. So that we call moral shame and moral fear. Right? So having said that, it is not necessary to pay additional attention to avoid accidental things. Accidental things will happen. The fault of that will neither fall on you nor the ant. You have not done that intentionally. What you are trying to do is you bring your attention to the movement of the leg. But in the process, we don't know how many ants you have killed. You have saved one, we know that. Right? There have been an incident during Buddha's time. Um, um, a blind monk has been walking, doing walking, and he has killed millions of ants. Rest of the monks, as usual, gone and complained the Blessed One. He's a monk, he's killing so many ants, how can that happen, and all big noise. And then Blessed One has said, you don't worry, he's blind, he's not having any intention to kill anything, he doesn't know what is happening. So he doesn't accrue any demerits on that. And after all, he's an fully enlightened one. Although he has been blind, he has been an enlightened one. So uh, don't pay additional attention. But if you see, avoiding is a good thing. So good. Anything else? Do you have anything?
Yeah, I got a question. So the sitting posture of crossing your legs,
Yeah.
it's not something that I've done a lot before. And like today when we were sitting down, one of my legs got completely numb, right?
Yeah.
So does it eventually does it stop getting numb? Like when you start practicing it? Or?
Yeah. Um, okay. I will, rather than answering the question, I will answer the mind base of the question. Right? The thing going behind the mind is, it is mind is always trying to avoid and stop things, right? So we have some objective always in doing something. That is what the mind wants. Then it has a hook to hold, right? But what we do is in mindfulness, we just observe. What is there we observe, we don't expect that to disappear or that to appear. Right? If the leg is numb, we just be aware of numbness. Right? Answer is yes. When you keep observing, simply what disappears is numbness. You will remove your attitude towards numbness. Then numbness is there, you don't feel as much. It gradually happens. And on one hand, mentally, and on the other hand, physically, the muscles will learn the art of sitting. Right? So when I started sitting, I wasn't able to sit for 5 minutes, and you have taken fortunately 2 cushions. I took about 5 cushions and try to keep my legs as the most comfortable posture. Horrible to sit, can't sit for 5 minutes, right? But one day I was able to sit After 5 minutes went like 5 seconds. So I said, whoa, I should increase my time. And then I set for 15 minutes. Easily I was able to sit for 15 minutes. And you were sitting how many minutes? 45 minutes. So it's a good, very good thing that you have done. And so it will disappear, right? And it's like when you climb the hill, right? Going down is also there. So that initial observation, you may feel difficult, but you will pass that and it will go to a deeper layer, right? And that layer may be a bit more difficult, right? So only thing we will have to do is just observe without expectation. That's what we'll have to do. You want to say anything, Asha? Am I allowed to go to chapel?
Yes. I have two questions. Actually, the first question is.
Oh, 1 minute. They will have a complaint that they can't answer. They can't hear the question. Let me disconnect. Right.
I have two questions. First one's actually sort of a question maybe that I didn't have time to discuss with Max. So Max was very interested in Buddhism and he doesn't have so much background. So my question is, how is mindfulness relevant to Buddhism or Dhamma? That question I haven't made any explanation to. I just said come here. That's it. And here's the basic instruction.
So how does mindfulness relate to Buddhism or the Dhamma? Right. Okay. Is that right? Yeah. Why do you take the two words Buddhism and Dhamma? Is it the same thing or is it Dhamma? Okay. So can you explain what you mean by Dhamma?
So translation, I believe, is phenomena, or I think generally it's used as teachings of the Buddha.
How it relates to the teaching of the Buddha?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it is how it relates to the teaching of the Buddha, that's a very good question. Why I say very good question is, even before the birth of the Buddha, there have been lots and lots of people who have been trying to develop their mind. And to develop the mind, mindfulness is imperative. Without mindfulness, no one can develop the mind, right? And even when we do our exams, even when we try, we have to have certain mindfulness. Otherwise, nothing can be done in the world. And the Blessed One has said, Satadipateya Sabbe Dhamma, which means mindfulness is the king, if I may put the word, translate the word properly, in all the phenomena, right? But what we don't have is appreciation of that mindfulness and being aware that we are mindful. That is not there, right? And what those who are developing the mind during the time of Buddha did was they were mindful with the object. They take one object, maybe breath, or maybe there are 40 odd objects. They take one of the objects and they develop their mind and they try to be with that object as much as possible, right? And when they develop the mind with the objects, and when the mind is changing, when the mind is evolving, when their attention comes into the body, they have tried to have that changing or evolving body to be held, to be hooked upon all the time, right? So it changes. I don't think I put it the best way possible. When you bring the attention to anything, not only breath, not only body, anything, what happens is you stop the mind wandering all over the world, right? So when you stop the mind going all over the world, what happens is mind is working not with the outside object. Mind is always working with the body. So it naturally comes to the body. When it naturally comes to the body, what happens is mind starts seeing the natural nature of the body. So when it's seeing the nature of the body, as we just explained a little while ago, it will see the basic elements, right? And after observing the basic elements, what happens is it goes beyond the matter, right? When the mind is with the body, you see the least common denominator of the physicality. And once you master that, you go to the non-material realm or immaterial realm, right? In other words, you start seeing, the mindfulness starts seeing the mind itself, right? When mind starts seeing the mind, what you simply see is perceptions and intentions, right? And in mindfulness, what we do is we remove intentions. That is why we don't react. But reacting means there is an intention. So once we take the intention part out, perceptions will continue. So the perceptions in the mind, you keep on observing perceptions, keep on observing perceptions. Even those the reactions to perceptions also will diminish, but it will go to very fine immaterial layer where you will be able to observe a perception which you can't say that there is something exactly appearing or not appearing, you can't say. But that perception will be there, right? It's a bit of a high level of observation of the mind. And they will hold on to that perception of the mind, right? When you hold on to anything, irrespective of how fine it is, that holding is giving some suffering. If you hold on to things, that only creates suffering. So Blessed One has gone to that stage, and he realized that this is also, since we are trying to hold on to this, if we lose it, we will have suffering. So therefore, this is not what I am looking for. And then he used the same mindfulness. Only thing he added was not to have an object, not to have an objective, right? Only thing he added was keep the mindfulness to the fore. Before Blessed One, what they had kept in the driving seat is the object. But what the Blessed One did was, object was kept in the passenger seat, mindfulness was kept in the driving seat. Right? Before the Blessed One, they held on to the changing, evolving object, they did not give up. Right? Awareness was used to hold it. Blessed One just changed the equation, put one onto the other side and the other one on the other side. Then he just instructed the disciples, you continue simply the awareness. Even if that very fine mentality, perception level disappears, if you can be aware, then you will not have any suffering. Simple example is, when I was listening to this, what do you call, sound, all of a sudden he stops. When he stops, I don't have anything to listen, but I'm still listening. So like that, if you keep the awareness to the fore, awareness in front, whatever you are looking will go, but your awareness will continue. And there is nothing, you don't hold on to anything, and therefore there is no suffering. And there will have instance, even your awareness will go. You have trained your mind to give up things. So that is the way he teaches renunciation from things, giving up of things. Did it make sense? To some extent, yeah. Do you have any questions from that? Or did you understand that? I know, I mean, I had let me turn this off. If you take the first one, which is, can you read?
So the question is, can the feeling or craving for immaterial pleasure appear like craving for
Yeah. So when we practice, we get certain amount of happiness. So that is why we continue the practice. And although we get this happiness, our mind does not know how to enjoy this happiness. The only way mind knows to enjoy the happiness is to look for sensual pleasure. Right? I remember when I used to go for retreats and come back home, all time I'm singing. And my friend used to remind me, we have a precept not to sing. Right? It says Nacha Gita Vadita. Right? We don't sing, we don't dance and things like that. I don't remember it. I just keep singing the whole time. That is because mind is so much peaceful, so much happy. That is the way it is putting out. And it is not only that, your sexual desire also increases. That's the way the body knows to keep the enjoyment. Right? So, therefore, when you have immaterial pleasure, when you have some happiness from the practice, it may translate into material sensual pleasure. That is because that is what the mind is aware of. But whatever you do, whatever it turns into be, doesn't matter. Just be aware of. And there is another side. When it has got nothing to do with material pleasure. It has got nothing to do with immaterial pleasure or immaterial happiness. When your mindfulness sharpens, what happens is your sensitivity increases. When your sensitivity increases, you think you have more craving than you had in the past. It is nothing like that. It's the same thing, but you are more sensitive to see it now. It may be your second question. I don't know. Right.
second one,
So I don't know if I need to give context. Is it okay to fulfill desire for an immaterial pleasure by continuing to do walking, sitting, or doing nothing?
Okay, that's a good question. To increase immaterial pleasure, doing walking and sitting instead of doing nothing, right? Or doing nothing. Yeah. Okay. This is how our mind works now. Now, mind has come out of the sensual pleasure. Mind has come from the sensual world. Now it is trying to get its hold, establishment, build its company, build its empire in the immaterial realm. So is it okay to do that? So whether it is material or immaterial, if you crave for anything, it's the same craving. Right? So this is how it gradually reduces. It comes from the sensual pleasure, but that whole craving lot is still there. Now it is trying to hold on to immaterial pleasure. And it is, the mind is asking, ask your teacher whether it is okay. Then whether he gives okay, you can keep on doing it. That is very genuine question. And there, no one can say it is wrong because comparatively it is much better than the sensual pleasure. But the suffering remains the same. Suffering remains the same. So therefore, those ideas will come. When they come, You let me just be mindful, or put it out like this. When you put it out like this, what happens is, with the report, you simply don't hide your mind. When you don't hide your mind, when you put it in the open air, it just evaporate. It's like, a dewdrop in the sunshine. When the sun shines, they just disappear. Like that, when the mind is exposed, the strength of the mind goes down. So this is why we have the discussion.
And that would be the basis of the question.
Yeah, you'll have to turn that on.
I forget who said it, but the basis of that question is, I think it was Bante Rakita. I can't remember where it come from. You have like pleasure or like something that you find happiness for, and you replace it with something better. So like I give the example, like you have this toy car as a kid and you like playing with the toy car. And then when you're 20 years old, you never play with toy car, you play with real car. So you replace it. And so you find some happiness that is better than the other and you never go back to the other one. So I guess the basis of the question is, so you have this material pleasure and then you find something better, which is immaterial pleasure. And you're like, oh, if I go here, then that one will be forgotten. Or like you have something better to replace. So, but it's less gross than the other one, or potentially better to some extent. That's the basis of that question.
Yeah, undoubtedly, and without any argument, that's better pleasure than sensual pleasure. Right? But even that, we should not let our mind to crave for it. Second, being there is superior. That is what happened to the people before the Blessed One. They went into this higher material, immaterial realms, and they were so peaceful, they were hooked onto that. The Blessed One found out why. And then he said, no, keep the mindfulness, keep the awareness to the foe, not the object. Right? And if it has been told by Bhankaratta, I know very well why he said that, because he is more into he's doing vipassana through samatha, right? So he wants us to master certain things and then get into vipassana. But we can do vipassana without real mastery. We can have the mastery through vipassana. If we can, what do you call, give up things then and there, why do you want to hold it and then give up? Give up straight away. And if someone's nature is to hold it, then we love them. And there are some people, when they practice, they go into those places and they enjoy those places, and then we give them some room. But without their knowledge, we bring the mindfulness to the fore, and they come out of that without knowing. So, since you put the question very straight, I'm saying.
The last part I went with comment.
You will have to put that, otherwise they will not hear and they will complain.
So this is the last question. It's more of a comment, and I should have put it all together. Are all of these questions, are all of this just mind games? And I can never trust the mind anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they are in a way mind games, but there are times we badly get hooked onto mind games. There has been a situation, there has been a case where I think you are a Catholic. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it has got nothing to do with the religion. Why I brought that was one of my friends who was a Catholic, and then came and practiced, and she did so well. She went into experiences that even some of the long time practicing Buddhists could not go, right? But when she opened up that layer of the mind, she took the wrong turn, and she started comparing the Jesus with the Buddha, right? Saying it is the same thing that has been told and all that. That is simply a mind game. Mind is bringing up something to complicate matters. So what we will have to simply do is, we will have to just be aware that these things are happening in the mind, and then talk in the discussion. So it's a mind game. The two questions are mind game, right? But you don't keep it for yourself. You don't take a decision. You don't take a judgment. You spell it out and you talk to other people, and then you know what it actually, what is behind those questions, right? And you yourself have seen it, it may be a mind game, right? But if you get involved in those things and keep on thinking without telling anybody, then it will be very hard to take them out of it. And then she has stopped the practice now, and it has gone a bit further than that. She's not practicing at all. Now it's the same thing with someone who seek pardon this morning, and she is involved in the suspicions that are arising in the mind. Our mind does not want to give up things. So when it is practice, when the practice is improved, when it is progressing, and when the real mental layer is opened up, we have got to be very sharp in knowing what we should do. It's a very simple thing that we will have to do. But if you bring a lot of equations, a lot of theorems, and a lot of formulas into it, then we complicate matters. No matter what comes up, the simple answer, simple explanation of the Buddha is, just be aware of it. Just accept it 100% honestly, voluntarily. Not because someone else tells you. You yourself have experienced that when you maintain awareness, things become better. And therefore, whatever the mind tells, body tells, sensations tell, you just observe, that's it. Right? So it's a mind game. Thank you. All right. Not quite sure. There's something inside. Okay. Right. Any questions from? Yes, Dulminandi.
තෙරුවන් සරණයි අප්‍රත්ය. I just want to explain what is happening in our situation.
Can't hear you well.
Can you hear me now?
No, there is some feedback.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I was able to hear that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll speak a little bit louder. Well, I feel alive because there's, I can feel a low voltage current passing through my body. And sometimes the intensity differs.
Sorry,
I'm
Nang, are you using a headphone or something? There is some coming up.
Just a minute. Clear now?
No,
Not clear.
there is some disturbance.
Okay.
Let me see.
Is it all right now? Hello. Hello.
It's okay.
Okay.
Now.
Yeah, I mean, a live current goes through my body, like, and I can feel it. The intensity differs. I'm neither attached nor I don't like. I'm neutral about it. But sometimes I can see something going out of my body, say from the sole of the feet, from the face, cheeks, and then from the ears. It's like say burping, like say yawning, like something goes out of my body. I just want to know as to what it is. Hello.
Yeah, I heard you.
Yeah. And yeah, is it an energy which is going through, going out of my body?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Before that, I want to know, you said there's some current
Yeah, the
in
current
your
type of,
body.
yeah.
Yeah. So is it an energy that you feel?
Yes. Yeah. Throughout, like, throughout the day, I feel it.
You see it throughout the day, okay.
Yes.
And do you see it in general everywhere, or is it having any direction?
Yeah, when I'm meditating, it's on the head. Otherwise, it goes all around.
When it is on the head, is it coming from somewhere, or it just...
Yeah, mostly the back of my head. Today it was back.
Yeah, so when it comes to the back of your head,
Yeah,
is it coming from bottom, or it just appears in the back of the head?
it appears. I think it rotates around. I mean, it's going around.
So which means it is not a static thing. It keeps moving.
Yeah.
And you experience in different places.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So that release of that sort of energy from different parts of the body is natural, because as we were explaining today, when we don't let our mind to settle down anywhere in our physical or mental processes, the system identifies that it will have some excess energies. Those excess energies are the defilements that we have been holding. In other words, craving and aversion that we have been holding. So when those craving and aversions are not going out, when they are going out, or when they are released from our body, it will not have any label. But we will observe some energies going out. So if we don't let these energies to go out, it will be very difficult. You may have heard some people, they say it gets blocked in my there, it gets blocked in my ear, and things like that. That is because they don't allow that natural phenomena to unfold. Right? So in your case, you have allowed it.
Yeah.
But I would recommend to get more into your body, and if you get more and more closer into your body, if there is any more energies, negative energies left, they also will come out.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. All right. So I think we have uh, taken all the questions, and time is also exactly 3 hours taken. So we have gathered quite a bit of positive energies from our practice and the discussion. And these positive energies we traditionally share with the rest of the beings in the universe, seen and unseen. So to do that, we chant our traditional stanzas. Please bear with us to do that. Can we chant Ethavatasha?